right. Perfect. So today I am here with Caroline Dowless, and Caroline is the children's minister at HopeFront Church. So super excited to chat today, Caroline.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, like, what called you into ministry, and how did you find your way to HopeFront Church?
Yeah. So I grew up in Hope Front Church my whole life. My dad is the pastor. I
Nice.
was 2 years old when he started the church.
Oh wow.
And I was 6 years old when I got saved and 7 when I was baptized. Um, so I grew up in this church. Like, this is my home church. Saw it grow from meeting in an elementary school to our first building and then the building that we're in now. So even as like a young kid, um,
Mhm.
12 years old, that's kind of like the age where I felt called to ministry and felt called to serve this house, serve God, serve the next generation. And so ever since I was a kid, I've been serving in kids ministry,
Yeah.
serving this house, and got to go to college for children's ministry and serve at some other churches in North Carolina, and then moved back here about 3 years ago to be full time as the children's minister. So
Oh
it's been a
wow.
really fun, exciting journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And so cool, hearing just from the get-go, you were 2 years old. So you've, gotten to, see Hope Front Church grow up as you grew up. So I'm curious with that, like, because it's no easy feat starting a church and growing it. So I'm curious, like, when you were a kid and the church was new, how did that kind of impact, like you understanding the importance of serving or of the sacrifice sometimes we need to make in order to move the church forward, since you had that very personal connection as
Mhm.
your dad led Hopefront.
Yeah. Well, church was my family and my community.
Yeah.
It was like all my friends were here.
uh,
Serving was just what we did. Like,
yeah.
God created us to serve and to
Hmm.
love Him, to serve Him out of our love for Him. And so my parents just instilled those principles in me and my siblings at a young age, that we wanted to be here, like first ones on a Sunday morning, helping
Yeah.
set up, like who's getting there
Awesome.
first, we want to ride with mom or we want to ride with dad. And
Oh,
so it was like they made it fun, they made it exciting, they gave us a role. Like, we weren't too young to
mhm.
serve, we always had a place to serve, and it really allowed God to use us to make a difference no matter our age. And so
Mhm.
feeling a part of something and not being like, oh well, when I'm older I can do this, or when I'm older I can, that's when I can start being a part of this. Like,
uh,
they created a space where kids could like discover their purpose. And so that's
mhm.
what I did. And that's why I had such a big passion for it. And I truly felt a part of what our church was doing, not just watching as a kid.
Oh yeah. Well, that's very important. And I'm curious, like, how does that shape how you approach serving, or maybe getting kids involved at a young age and serving now, especially with you leading kids ministry?
Yeah. That's actually a big heart of our church and the
Awesome.
kids ministry. So we have what we call a mini dream team, and
Oh
it's for
yeah.
kids. Yeah, it's for kids
Awesome.
fourth through fifth grade. So they're not
Okay.
in youth yet. They've graduated from preschool, but
Hmm.
it's really an opportunity for these kids to serve in the preschool classrooms. Some of them might help with tech and elementary, or dance
Mm-hmm.
during worship for elementary. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but really creating a space for these first graders, second graders. They're helping the 3-year-olds with their coloring sheet and sitting with them while
Oh,
they're watching their lesson. And the kids love it. Like, you would think, like, how are you going
yeah.
to get a first grader to help a 2-year-old? But they understand the importance of what they're doing. And when they have
Mm-hmm.
responsibility and when they have a role to play, they take that seriously, and
Mm-hmm.
they leave excited. They're like, I want to come back and serve again. And so
Yeah.
at a young age, they're learning serve one, worship one, and they're learning the value of serving the next generation and that they can make a difference.
Yeah, that is awesome. I love the mini dream team. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Gonna steal that and share it around. Well, and yeah, it's so important too because one of the core things is responsibility.
Hmm.
Responsibility is so important in serving in the church. So I'm curious, like, what are some other ways you kind of cultivate and encourage that responsibility from an early age in your kids' ministry?
Yeah. So we have like incentives in our kids ministry
Hmm.
called Kids Cash. And so,
Okay. Awesome.
so they earn Kids Cash when they bring their Bible, memorize Bible verses, bring a
Mm-hmm.
friend. And so it really puts it on the kid, like, hey, you need to be inviting your friend. You need to be bringing your Bible. You need to be
Mm.
memorizing this verse. It's not just about showing up on Sunday and having us teach you the verse, but throughout the week, be learning it, be talking about it with your parents, be looking it up in
Yeah.
the Bible. And when you come back, recite it to us and you get this in return. And so
Mm.
it's this cycle of, hey, we're going to do our part, but you have a part to play too.
Yeah.
And when they start getting those Bible verses in them at an early age, it's going to stick with them through their adulthood.
Oh, yeah. Completely agree there because it's
Mhm.
there's a difference between memorizing something and actually learning it. And so
Mhm.
yeah, really, really like that idea. And it's cool to hear about just kind of these things you're doing at HopeFront. Like, what are some of your main core values you operate by as a church and in your ministry, and how does this
Mhm.
kind of shape what you do?
Yeah. So we have four values in our kids ministry, and we actually got these from Church of the Highlands.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
so the first one is love God. And
Hmm.
why do we love God? Because God is love and he first loved us. Number two is love people. Why do we love people? Because God loves all people. Number three is do your best and God does the rest. Number four is have fun because God gives us joy. And so in our kids ministry, we operate by those four values. And every
Mhm.
Sunday, we are going over them. The kids know them by heart at this point. They're
Awesome.
we saw something on Facebook that one of the parents, I think they were like having a rough day or complaining or something. And one of the kids said, well, mom, just do your best and God does the rest.
Oh,
And they
wow.
didn't know that they learned that from HopeFront Kids.
Oh,
But
man.
it was just so cool. Like these kids are like teaching their parents, like, no, God's
Yeah.
got this. So those are, and I mean, just our whole kids ministry, the dream team that serves there, they hear those every Sunday. And so like it sticks with us as adults and also instilling those into the kids.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's great to hear, and that sounds like one of those situations where parent didn't know the kid learned that in church. It's like, what did you just say? That's very
Yeah.
profound. Like, where's this coming from? So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So, yeah. And then, well, that's very important. You're going over those values, and those are some spectacular values, and we love the folks at Church of the Highlands as well. And some it's
Hmm.
really important to just it's really like that. Hey, do your best. God takes care of the rest. So,
Exactly.
yeah. And when it comes to doing our best in ministry, a lot of it can be around engaging the kids and recruiting volunteers are kind of some key fundamentals to, really laying the groundwork for what we want to do. So when it comes to recruiting volunteers and maintaining and engaging experiences in your kids ministry, like what are some tips you have for doing that?
Yeah. So as far as recruiting, the best way to recruit is one on one and
Hmm.
with somebody that you're already connected with. Maybe you're not even like in a relationship with them yet, but you have connected
Hmm.
with them at some level and encouraging that within your teams. If you can have
Yeah.
half your team invite one person to come serve in kids ministry and it's not just saying, hey, we're short on people, we need somebody, would you be willing, just could you just try it for a Sunday and just help us out, but it's saying, hey, I see your smile, you like kids
Hmm.
are just so drawn to you already, the joy that you have, like why don't you just come serving kids? I think you would make the biggest impact. The kids would love you. Just the joy of the Lord shines through you. The kids need that
Hmm.
joy in them too. And calling out something in them that you already see because then they feel like, oh, they see that in me. They feel chosen, they feel appreciated and
Mhm.
valued. And it's not just that we need them, but it's that like there's something in them that God wants to use to impact these kids. And it's much bigger than what they might think, especially not serving yet. So
Yeah.
calling it out in them.
Oh yeah. Well, that's really important because it's like there's such a difference, in starting that conversation from a place of, hey, I appreciate you.
Mhm.
God's given you something awesome, and here's a way we can use it. Versus like, we need you. Like you're recruited. Like this is
Yeah.
not the draft. You
Yeah.
have a special talent, so let's put that to use. So that is a great perspective to go out there, and then kind of shifting gears, Caroline, I'm curious, like, what are some of your top goals that you have, both for the short term and then just long term goals at HopeFront Church?
Yeah. So some goals we have for just and within like the next 5 years,
Yeah.
um, we are actually switching away from like our VBS, summer
Hmm.
blast, whatever you want to call it. And we're moving more towards focusing on big Sundays. So very like
Hmm.
invitational Sundays, kind
Hmm.
of just like adding on to what we already do.
Yeah.
So we're planning our first one in October for
Awesome.
like the Halloween Sunday.
Okay.
And we got this idea from another church as well. I think a few
Yeah.
churches do it, but it's called Candy Palooza. And
Hmm.
the kids
Awesome.
can dress up, they get free
Yeah.
candy. We're going to do some giveaways and play some games and do our normal curriculum. So we do all of our normal
Hmm.
curriculum, worship, Bible lesson, but in addition to that will be those fun Candy Palooza aspects. They'll
Oh
have a
yeah.
photo booth, decoration, and using our resources to get their kids to get the kids to invite their friends to church. Their parents
Hmm.
come. The parents have an
Hmm.
experience to go to. The kids have an experience to go to. They don't just come for one event, but they're finding a church family and they're getting
Yeah.
connected instead of just
Hmm.
one big summer event. And so we decided to kind of use our resources throughout the year. And that's brand new. Like
Yeah.
we are just starting that. So we're
Okay.
kind of planning it out for the next 5 years, like what that will look like. We want to do one in the spring, potentially one in the
Hmm.
summer, and then definitely the fall. So just kind of adding on to those Sundays that people are already looking for something fun to do.
Yeah. Well, I really like that because it's like, yeah, hey, you could concentrate a lot of your efforts for VBS, which is, great. And we've done that for a while, but hey, there might be an opportunity, like you said, like, hey, this is not just a once a year thing. There are
Hmm.
lots of times throughout the year where you can have a big Sunday, I think, as you phrased it. So yeah, that's really cool. And then with that, like, what are just there can be challenges with doing something new. It's really bold. I admire you for going 5 years. Like, wow, that's a lot to commit to from the get-go for a new strategy here. Like, what are
Yeah.
some challenges you face, just whether it's achieving new strategies like that or just in general in ministry?
Mhm. Well, just talking about change, we've had a lot of
Hmm.
change around here. We just changed our name as a church. We used to be
Okay.
called C3 Church, and
Okay.
a little over a year ago, we rebranded to HopeFront Church. Same
Awesome.
church, new name, same pastor, same vision. We just wanted a church name that communicates who we are, and our vision
Hmm.
is to provide real hope for real people in a real world. And
Yeah.
we're on the front lines of bringing hope. So, Hope
Yeah.
Front just kind of encompasses what we're all about. Um,
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a really big change that we've had. And
Yeah.
then just, I mean, normal changes in ministry. We've changed our curriculum. We
Hmm.
now have a new space that our elementary kids are meeting in. We changed classrooms. So we've
Hmm.
done a lot of change,
Yeah.
and not everybody will get through that change with you. Some of them, it was
Hmm.
the end of their season. Some of them wanted to join because of the new and exciting change happening. So you get a mix of everything. You just always
Mhm.
have to know that people are going to always be coming and going. And it's not
Mhm.
anything on you as a leader. It's not anything about the vision or mission. You don't need to change what God has called you to do to try to please these volunteers that might be leaving or coming. You just have to trust God with what He's given you. And when it comes to any kind of implementing a change, there has to be buy-in, there has to be vision casting beforehand. Like if I came in
Mhm.
and said, "Hey, we're changing curriculums this Sunday," they would do it, but they might be like, "Whoa, like we're the ones with the kids. Why are you going to do this to us?" There might be
Mhm.
more negativity than positivity. But
Yeah.
if I come in and I'm like, hey, we're going to try this for a month, see if it works, see if it doesn't. I want to hear your feedback. I want to hear what you have to say because you're with the kids. I'm not always with the kids. And then
Mhm.
and then after that month, we're going to go back to our normal curriculum, kind of pray about it, see what's going on, and getting that buy-in. And then at the end of the day, the leader has to make a decision. And, but I think if you are able to cast that vision before, here's why, here's what I see, here's what God's doing in our church, here's what God's doing in this generation of kids. Gen Alpha
Mhm.
is very different than Gen Z, and
Indeed.
Gen Beta is coming. We don't even know
Oh
what they're
wow.
going to be like. So you always have to know who you're ministering to. And it's not about us, it's about pointing kids to Jesus and the best efforts that we can do to make that happen.
Oh yeah. And I mean, that is no small task. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. And to really lean into those changes, it's like, hey, understand when we change, a lot of things are going to change. Maybe some people will change, but the mission's
Hmm.
the same.
Yep.
And yeah, so it sounds like you're making the most of it. One thread I wanted to pull on was, you mentioned, hey, we recently changed our name to HopeFront Church from C3 Church. As really a church that was established as C3 Church and changing to HopeFront Church. I'm curious, like, what tips would you have for someone in that position of, hey, we are changing our church's name? Because there's a lot that goes into that. Because, well, you'd obviously know a lot because you experienced this firsthand, especially seeing, C3 grow throughout your life and then changing to HopeFront. Like, what tips do you have for people may be thinking of or currently undergoing those to make the most of it?
Hmm. Yeah. So we had like a big launch Sunday of like our rebrand
Awesome.
Sunday, and we
Yeah.
passed out free t-shirts and car magnets, and we
Hmm.
passed out signs that people could put in their yard, like same church, new name.
Yeah.
Everyone around here knows C3. It's been over a
Awesome.
year and people still are like, what's HopeFront? So
Hmm.
our church, we know, like we're used to the name change, but the community's not. And I think it's important
Mm.
to be aware of the people outside of your church that aren't, they're not around it. They're going to know you as your
Hmm.
former name. And so doing
Hmm.
things to get out in the community, to even like getting your people to invite their friends to church and then
Yeah.
have them know the vision so well that they can explain it to their friends. And that's what we really like aim to do was here's why we changed our name, and it's in one sentence. Anybody can say it, know
Uh,
it. um, our fire
yeah.
department, they don't even go to our church all the time, but they saw the signs everywhere, same church, new
Okay.
name, Hope Front Church, like they knew it and they don't even go here. So
Awesome.
it's we really tried to push the get the signs out, get the word out, and just being patient with yourself
Mhm.
as a leader, as staff, that we're a year and a half into our name change and we're still working on things to get our name change out there, to
Mhm.
get people to always invite your friends to church, but
Yeah.
creative ways to let them know that Hope Front is here and what we're about. And it's not we're not formally C3 anymore. Like we are Hope Front, we are who we are, and here's our
Mhm.
vision and mission, and this is what we're about.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that is spectacular stuff to keep in mind for anyone undergoing those changes. And yeah, that's great to hear. It's like, hey, the fire department's got the note, and so it's like, hey, that's I think that's when it's official. It's like, hey, we
Yeah.
it's official, no longer formerly. So that's
Yeah.
spectacular, and appreciate you for just shared so much insight, Caroline, on a lot of different topics today. I'm curious, just like what other advice do you have for ministry leaders?
Yeah. I would say number one, focus on your relationship with God.
Hmm.
Focus on loving Jesus, because being a ministry leader, it can be a blurred line between am I prepping for Sunday or am I having my quiet time?
Uh,
Um, and so it's really important as ministry leaders to spend time with Jesus. We're not prepping
yeah.
for Sunday. It's not for any other reason. I'm not trying to gain anything from God. I just want to be in his presence. And because
Mhm.
that's how we lead out of the overflow of our relationship with God. And when we miss that part and we start functioning out of our own strength, or we're running on, like, we're
Mhm.
desperate for some coffee, we're desperate for some more energy,
Yeah.
we're desperate for a thank you, like we're desperate
Mhm.
for approval from people. That's when you need to take a step back and say, like, okay, how's my relationship with God? How's my soul? How's my heart? And really let the Holy Spirit work in you as a leader and minister to your heart. And maybe that means taking a day off that you normally wouldn't
Mhm.
take a day off for, so that you can get that refilling, because we're going to burn ourselves out. We're going to run our well dry if we're trying to do all of this in our own strength. And
Yeah.
it's not anything that we're trying to gain extra from God. It's just being in his presence, loving him, being in his word. And that's the biggest thing that I would tell any ministry leader. Focus on your relationship with Jesus. Everything else will fall into place. It's not your ministry, it's God's ministry. He's taking care of it. He's aligning all the volunteers. He's aligning all the scripts. If everything goes wrong, but people and kids find Jesus, then we've done something right. And so keeping the main thing, the main thing.
Oh, yeah. Could not agree more. And I think you said it best earlier. Hey, do your best. God takes care of the rest. And
Exactly.
and we got to take care of ourselves though, like as you said,
Mhm.
when the lines get blurry there. So yeah,
Yeah.
so important. And thank you just so much, Caroline, for sharing so much today. And the insights will help a lot of people.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed being on here, and hope that anything that I said, that God just put his hand on it, because I can just ramble
Absolutely.
and say my own thing. So I hope that God really spoke through me today.
He definitely did. He definitely did. So